31 seconds. That's all it took to erase 27 years. Not a fight. Not a confrontation. Not even a conversation. Just a voicemail. 31 seconds long. Left at 9:47 on a Tuesday night. My mother's voice came through flat, rehearsed, and completely final. Vivian. This is your mother. I want you to know that we've made a decision as a family. You are no longer welcome here. Don't come back. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. We're moving on without you. I listened to it once. Then I listened again, because I was sure I'd missed the reason. The because. The after what you did. The part where she explained what crime I'd committed to deserve being erased. There was nothing. Just the verdict. No trial. No warning. No phone call beforehand asking me to explain myself. Just a 31-second recording that tried to delete a daughter. I put the phone down. I opened the family group chat, the one my younger sister Brooke had created 2 Christmases ago, the one where Mom posted casserole recipes and Dad sent blurry bird photos from the backyard. I had been removed. Not muted. Removed. And the group had been renamed. The old name was the Owens fam. The new name, and I will remember this for the rest of my life, was us. So that's what I was now. The opposite of us. I sat on my bed in my studio apartment in Philadelphia, laptop on my pillow, the ceiling of my upstairs neighbor's laugh track bleeding through. Someone up there was watching a sitcom. My whole family had just voted me off the island, and somewhere above me, a studio audience was laughing. My first instinct was the old one. Call back. Apologize. Ask what I'd done wrong. Promise to fix it. Absorb the blame. Patch the crack. Keep the peace. That had been my pattern since I was 14 years old. My thumb hovered over Mom's name in my contacts. And then something stopped. Like a gear that had finally, after years of grinding, completely stripped. I opened her text thread instead. Typed one word. Okay. Added a period. Hit send. The screen said delivered. Then nothing. No reply. No typing bubbles. Because she expected me to chase. To beg. To chase and explain and apologize for something I didn't even understand. When I didn't, she had no script for that. I couldn't sleep that night. Not from sadness. That would come later, around 3 a.m., brief and sharp like a muscle cramp. No. I couldn't sleep because my brain did what it always does under pressure. It went to work. I opened my laptop and created a new spreadsheet. I titled it, Family Financial Obligations, v. Owens. And what came out of those columns, line by line, was the price of being the dependable daughter. Before we go further, if you're the kind of person who believes that loyalty should never be used as a weapon, hit that subscribe button right now. I post stories like this every single week, stories about people who gave everything and still weren't enough, until the day they finally decided enough was enough. Hit subscribe. Turn on notifications. And let's continue, because what I found in that spreadsheet that night was only the beginning. I typed until 2 a.m. And what built itself on that screen, line by line, was a document I never wanted to exist. Mortgage on the family house, $1,850 a month, every month, for 3 full years. That alone was $66,600. Health insurance for both my parents, $640 a month for 2.5 years. $19,200. Brooke's car loan, the white SUV she posted on Instagram with the caption blessed, $380 a month for 14 months. $5,320. Then the emergencies. Dad's back surgery copay. The roof that needed fixing before winter hit. Brooke's security deposit, the first time she moved out. Then the second time. The dental bill Mom had let sit until it went to collections. The utility shut-off notice that came on a Friday afternoon like a small bomb in my inbox. Every single item had a date and a dollar amount. I had kept every receipt. Every bank notification. Every transfer confirmation. Not out of suspicion, out of habit. The same obsessive record-keeping that made me excellent at my actual job in financial risk analysis. I leaned back and looked at the total cell, bolded in the bottom right corner. $143,214. I had contributed more than my entire annual salary, 6 years in a row, to people who had just cut me off with a voicemail. But the number wasn't even the worst part. The worst part came when I pulled up the supporting documents I stored in a cloud folder. I was the co-signer on the mortgage. My name was on the property deed as co-owner. And I was the sole trustee of my grandmother's trust fund. $86,000 she had left specifically for the family's education and medical needs, managed by me, and me alone, because Grandma said I was the only one she trusted with money. Every critical financial thread holding my family's life together ran directly through my name. They told me to leave. But they forgot that I was the foundation. I hit print. The little desktop printer hummed to life in the dark apartment, spitting out page after page of receipts, statements, and contracts. I wasn't angry yet. That would come. For now, I was just awake. Fully awake. For the first time in years. To understand what happened next, you have to understand where it started. Not the voicemail. That was the ending. The beginning was quieter. The beginning was a kitchen table, a summer morning, and 2 girls being told their futures. I was 14. Brooke was 10. Summer break had just started, and our parents sat us down to explain the plan. Brooke would go to art camp. For weeks, $300. I would stay home and watch her during the mornings, cook lunch, do laundry, and make sure the house didn't fall apart while Mom and Dad worked. I asked if I could go to math camp. There was a free program at the community college for students with qualifying grades, and I qualified. Mom shook her head. Someone has to be here for your sister, Vivian. But it's free, I said. You're the older one. You understand? I understood. I understood that Brooke got summers and I got responsibilities. That my grades weren't a source of pride, they were a forecast of future usefulness. When I made the honor roll that fall, Mom's only comment was, "Good. Keep it up. One of you needs to make real money someday." Not "I'm proud of you." Not "you deserve this." Just, "you'll be useful later." When Brooke failed her 6th grade finals that same year, the whole house rallied around her. Dad took her for ice cream. Mom sat with her for an hour, stroking her hair, saying, "You are more than a test score, baby." I was in the next room. I heard every word. Nobody said anything like that to me. Not because I was failing, but because I never needed comfort. I was the strong one. The steady one. Mom actually told me this directly once. My sophomore year of college, I'd mentioned feeling overwhelmed with coursework. She said, "You're the strong one, Vivian. Brooke needs me more." 7 words. I carried them in my chest like a brick for the next decade. My first real paycheck arrived on a Friday in June, the summer after graduation. I felt proud for exactly 4 hours. That evening, Mom called. Dad had thrown out his back. Hospital bill, $2,000. Could I help? I sent it that night. Didn't hesitate. 3 weeks later, Brooke needed a security deposit for her first apartment. $1,200. She was 17, heading to cosmetology school. I asked, carefully, "Does Brooke have any savings?" The silence on the other end was a weapon. Then, "She's your baby sister, Vivian. She's starting out." How can you even ask that? I sent the $1,200. My own student debt, $38,000, sat untouched. No one asked about it. No one offered. The assumption was simple: Vivian's fine. Vivian handles things. Vivian doesn't need help because Vivian never asks for it. That first year out of school, I sent nearly $14,000 home, never in one lump sum, always in cuts, always just this once. They never said thank you. I don't mean they forgot once. I mean the words were never spoken. Not in a text. Not on the phone. Not at Thanksgiving when I flew home on a budget airline and sat at the table I had financially rebuilt. My birthday that year, Mom forgot. She posted a throwback photo of Brooke on Facebook that same week. Brooke's birthday 2 months later, party at the house. I was asked to order the cake and pay for it. The last month of that year, I ate ramen for 9 days straight because my checking account was empty. I didn't tell anyone. Because if I had, Mom would have told me I was being dramatic. And the most devastating part is that I believed her. 3 years before the voicemail, Mom called with what she described as a family opportunity. She and Dad wanted to buy a house. A 3-bedroom outside the city. Quieter neighborhood. Better schools nearby for whenever grandkids come. She said it like a dream they'd earned. The reality was simpler and far less romantic. Their credit was completely destroyed. Dad's medical debt, a missed car payment from years earlier, a collections notice Mom had ignored until it turned into a court judgment. No lender would touch them. So Mom asked me. Just cosign, Vivian. Your credit is perfect. The house will be in my name, but you'll be on the loan and the deed. It's the family home. Someday it belongs to both of you girls. I said yes. I didn't hire a lawyer. I didn't ask for a written agreement beyond the mortgage paperwork itself. Because there was a voice in my head, a voice Mom had installed, that said, family doesn't need contracts. If you ask for one, you don't trust us. And if you don't trust us, you're not family. So I signed. Co-signer on the mortgage. Co-owner on the deed. And from that month forward, $1,850 left my account on the first of every month like clockwork. Brooke moved in immediately, took the largest bedroom, decorated it, and posted photos online with the caption "Home Sweet Home." When I visited, which wasn't often because I was working overtime to cover the payments, I slept on the pull-out sofa in the den. I was paying for a house where I slept on a couch. About 6 months before the voicemail, I overheard something during a family call. Mom's voice in the background, talking to Brooke. She didn't realize I was still on the line. She said, once we refinance, we can pull some equity out. Don't worry about Vivian. I'll handle her. Handle me. Like a line item. Like a problem on a balance sheet. I didn't say anything. I told myself I'd misheard. But my hands were shaking when I put the phone down. My grandmother died 4 years ago. Lung cancer. Fast and cruel. 11 weeks from diagnosis to funeral. But Grandma was sharp until the very end. 2 months before she passed, she updated her trust. $86,000 set aside for the family's education and medical expenses. And she named one trustee to manage it. Not Mom. Not Brooke. Me. I remember the lawyer reading it out loud and watching Mom's face go completely still. She didn't argue, not in front of the attorney. But in the car afterward, she said, "Your grandmother didn't understand how things work. That money should be managed by the family together. I am the family, Mom." She didn't answer. The trust sat quietly for 3 years. Then Brooke came calling. She wanted $15,000 for an online resale business she'd seen someone run on social media. No business plan. No projections. Just a link to a wholesaler and a feeling. I said no, not to hurt her, but because the trust terms were specific, education and medical expenses only. Brooke cried. She called Mom. Mom called me. Your grandmother would have wanted to help Brooke. You're being controlling. I'm following the trust document, Mom. That's literally my legal job. Brooke stopped speaking to me for 2 months. And during those 2 months, I found out through a cousin that Brooke had been telling the entire extended family that I was hoarding Grandma's money and probably spending it on myself. I never corrected the record. I was too tired of fighting ghosts. But then, 2 months before the voicemail, Brooke called me. She said she wanted to clear the air. Her voice was warm, almost sweet. Sisterly in a way she hadn't been in years. We talked for 40 minutes. At one point, she let something slip. Or maybe she got careless. She said, "Honestly, Viv, I just need you out of the trust and off the deed. Then everything gets simpler for everyone." She said it like it was reasonable. Like asking me to walk away from my own life was a favor I should want to do for her. What she didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that I had been recording the call. Not to trap her. I record every important call over 10 minutes as a professional habit. My app plays an audible disclosure tone at the start. Brooke either didn't hear it. Or she didn't care. I saved that recording in 3 places. Cloud. USB drive. Email to myself with the subject line, "Just in case." Pause for just a second. If you were Vivian right now, knowing what her sister just said, knowing the recording exists, knowing what's been happening behind her back for years, what would you do? Would you confront them immediately? Give them one last chance? Or would you wait and build the case first? Drop your answer in the comments right now. I read every single one. And hit the like button if this story is already hitting different for you. It helps more people find it, and honestly, more people need to hear this. Morning came gray and cold. October in Philadelphia, the kind of sky that looks like a ceiling. I made coffee, opened my laptop, and logged into the joint checking account. The household account I had set up 2 years earlier to streamline all the bill payments, mortgage, utilities, insurance, all pulling from one place. My money in. Everyone else's expenses out. The dashboard loaded. And I noticed it immediately. The contact email on the account had been changed. My email address had been swapped out and replaced with one I recognized. Brooks. The change was timestamped 2 days before the voicemail. 2 days before my mother recorded that message, my sister had changed the contact information on my financial account. The voicemail wasn't an emotional outburst. It was step 3 of a plan. I kept digging. Buried in my inbox under work emails, I found a forwarded notification from the title company handling the house. Subject line, beneficiary amendment, confirmation pending. The form requested my removal from the property deed, effective upon approval. Submitted by Brooke Owens, authorized family representative. I had never authorized anyone to represent me. I had never agreed to be removed from anything. My coffee went cold on the desk. I didn't touch it. Here's what I understood now, sitting in that gray morning light with my laptop glowing and my phone still face down from the night before. Brooke didn't want me out of the family. That was just the cover story. She wanted me off the paperwork. Off the deed. Off the trust. Off every document that proved I had built what they lived in. The voicemail was the distraction. The real theft was happening in the filing system. And there is one thing you need to know about me. I work in risk analysis. I spot fraud patterns for a living. My sister had just made the worst bet of her life. That evening, I sat down with every document I had and went through them the way I'd go through a client's portfolio, line by line, looking for what didn't match. I pulled up the deed amendment form again. I'd noticed it that first morning but hadn't looked closely at the attachment. Now, I opened it. The form was standard, a beneficiary amendment request. At the bottom, 2 signature lines. One for Donna Owens, primary owner. One for Vivian Owens, co-owner. Both lines were signed. I zoomed in on my signature. My stomach went cold. It was close. Someone had studied my handwriting. The slant was right. The size was right. Even the small tail I leave on the N in Vivian was there. But the O in Owens was wrong. I write my capital O with an open loop, a habit built from years of signing financial documents quickly. This O was closed. Sealed shut. A small thing. The kind of detail only I would notice. But I noticed. Someone had forged my signature to remove me from the deed of a property I had paid $66,000 toward. I checked the submission record. Submitted electronically by Brooke Owens, authorized family representative. Submission date, 3 days before the voicemail. 3 days before. I sat back and let the timeline build itself in my head like a case file. First, Brooke submits the forged document to remove me from the deed. Then, she changes the contact email on the joint account. Then, and only then, Mom sends the voicemail. This wasn't a family falling apart in the heat of the moment. This was a sequence. A plan. Step 1, Step 2, Step 3. My removal from the paperwork first. Then my removal from the family, so I wouldn't be looking at the documents while they pushed me out the door. My sister didn't just betray me. She ran a project plan. And in my line of work, a project plan always leaves a trail. The next morning, I walked into the office looking like I'd slept inside a paper shredder. My colleague Marcus Webb noticed before I reached my desk. Senior to me by 7 years. A CPA with a calm voice and the kind of steady presence that makes clients feel safe handing over their ugliest numbers. He wasn't the type to pry. But that morning, he pried. My laptop screen was still open. The spreadsheet was still visible. Family financial obligations, V. Owens. Total bolded at the bottom. He looked at me. Then at the screen. Viv, is that money you're owed, or money you gave away? I could have lied. Said it was a client file. A template. But I was running on 4 hours of sleep and the fumes of a decade's worth of telling myself I was fine. And something in the way Marcus asked, direct, no judgment, no filler, cracked the seal. I told him everything. Not all of it. Just the outline. Voicemail. Group chat. House. Trust. The number. Marcus went quiet. When Marcus goes quiet, it means he's calculating. 10 seconds passed. Then he said something that rearranged the furniture in my head. Vivian, I've been exactly where. Friday afternoon. Janet's office. We walked through it step by step. Step 1, notify the bank that the deed amendment was submitted with a forged signature. Janet would send a formal letter with supporting evidence, my real signature from the original mortgage versus the forgery. The bank would be legally required to freeze the refinance immediately. Step 2, as sole trustee of Grandma's trust, I had full authority to freeze all distributions. No court order. No family approval. One signature from me, one phone call to the trust management institution, and $86,000 goes into complete lockdown. Step 3, stop the automatic mortgage payments. I was the cosigner, not the primary borrower. Mom was the primary. If I stopped paying, the obligation reverted entirely to her, and her credit couldn't carry the loan alone. The bank would issue a formal notice within 30 days. Step 4, a formal cease and desist letter to the family, notifying them that I was withdrawing from all shared financial obligations, effective immediately. I picked up the pen and signed the authorization letter. It felt heavier than it should have. Not because I doubted the decision. Because I knew that once that ink dried, there was no quiet resolution. No late-night call that puts everything back in a drawer. This was the sound of a bridge I hadn't burned. I had simply stopped being the bridge. Monday morning, I went to the bank that managed Grandma's trust. I sat across from a trust officer named Dan, pleasant man, blue tie, a pen he clicked nervously when he talked. I presented my trustee documentation, photo ID, the original trust instrument, and a letter from Janet confirming my legal standing. Dan reviewed everything, clicked his pen exactly 14 times, and looked up. Miss Owens, you are the sole trustee on this account. No other signatories, no co-trustees, no secondary beneficiaries with withdrawal authority. What would you like to do? I'd like to place a full freeze on all distributions, effective immediately. No withdrawals. No, it took exactly 51 hours. I was at my desk Thursday morning reviewing a client's exposure report when my phone started buzzing. Not the polite single vibration of a text, the long, insistent pulse of a call. Then another. Then another. I finished my paragraph. Saved the file. Then I flipped the phone over. 19 missed calls from Mom. 8 from Dad. 14 from Brooke. 5 from an unknown number. 46 total. The texts were stacked like bricks. Mom, Vivian, call me right now. Mom, this is not a game. Mom, something happened with the bank and you need to fix this. Brooke, Viv, what did you do? Brooke, the refinance is frozen. They said your lawyer sent something. Brooke, call me now. Dad, honey, please call back. Your mother is very upset. Dad, we need to talk about the house situation. And then the one that made me set my coffee down and read it twice. An email from the unknown number. Professional letterhead. Gregory Pratt, attorney at law, representing Donna Owens. Dear Miss Owens, I represent your mother regarding the residential property. It has come to our attention that several financial actions have been taken that directly impact our client's interests. We would like to arrange an immediate conversation to discuss resolution. Please respond at your earliest convenience. And at the bottom, almost an afterthought. We have a serious problem. I read it one more time. Then I leaned back in my chair. And I laughed. Not a bitter laugh. Not a villain laugh. Just the startled, involuntary sound of a woman who had spent 6 years answering every phone call on the first ring, watching 46 calls go to voicemail. 46. Roughly one for every $3,000 I had given them. Funny how fast we're moving on without you becomes call us back immediately. I opened the email from Gregory Pratt. Forwarded it to Janet. Typed one line in the body. Let's schedule the meeting. Brooke didn't wait for the meeting. She never was patient. The texts rolled in Thursday afternoon, spaced just far enough apart to suggest she was pacing. Mom is spiraling. You need to undo this. This isn't about you and me. You're putting Mom and Dad in a dangerous spot. We were just upset. People say things when they're upset. And then the one she thought was her ace. You are being really, really selfish right now, Vivian. Like, unbelievably selfish. I sat at my kitchen counter and read each message carefully. Not because I needed to understand them. I understood them perfectly. Message 1, deflect. Make it about what I did, not what she did. Message 2, invoke the family shield. Weaponize Mom and Dad to trigger my guilt. Message 3, minimize. Rewrite the voicemail as heat of the moment. Erase the forged signature. Erase the 3-step plan. Message 4, the label. Selfish. The word she'd known I was running from since I was 14 years old. 4 messages. 0 apologies. No mention of the voicemail. No mention of the forged signature. No mention of the deed amendment she submitted under my name without my consent. Same Brooke. Same playbook. Just louder now that the stakes were real. I typed back one message. Have your lawyer contact mine. I attached Janet's business card. 30 seconds of silence. Then 3 gray dots, appearing, disappearing, appearing again. Are you serious right now? I closed the app. The final notification came through my banner before I silenced the thread. Fine. But don't blame me for what happens next. I almost smiled. Because that sentence, don't blame me for what happens next, was the most honest thing Brooke had said in years. She was already planning her next move. The difference now was that so was I. And my plans came with documentation. Friday. 2 p.m. Janet Aldridge's conference room. 3rd floor of the brownstone. Glass walls. Long walnut table. 6 leather chairs. A water pitcher no one would touch. I arrived 10 minutes early. Set my folder on the table. Aligned the edges. At 1:58, the door opened. Mom came in first. Navy blouse. Chin high. Purse clutched against her ribs like a shield. She looked at me for exactly 1 second, not at my face, but at my folder, then sat at the far end without a word. Dad followed. Gray polo. Hands in pockets. Something crossed his face when he glanced at me, not guilt exactly, not shame exactly, something in between that didn't have a name. He sat next to Mom and folded his hands on the table. Then Brooke. She walked in last. Deliberately. Soft pink cardigan over a white shirt. Eyes red-rimmed, recently rubbed. Lower lip doing a slight quiver she had been perfecting since elementary school. She pulled her chair close to Mom's and reached for her hand under the table. The performance was flawless. If you didn't know the script, you'd think she was the victim in that room. I opened the folder. I'll start with a number. I slid the spreadsheet to the center of the table. 5 copies. 1 for each person. $143,214. I let it sit in the air. That is what I have contributed to this family over the past 6 years. Every payment is documented. Dates, amounts, account records. It's all on this sheet. I pulled the second document from the folder. 2 sheets side by side. On the left, my signature from the original mortgage contract. On the right, a signature submitted on a deed amendment form requesting my removal from the property title. Pause. I did not sign this form. I did not authorize it. I did not know it existed until I found it in my email, after being removed from this family by voicemail. Gregory Pratt leaned forward, studying the signatures. His jaw tightened. The form was submitted electronically by Brooke Owens, listed as authorized family representative. 3 days before the voicemail. The room shifted. Not a sound, more like a change in pressure. Dad's hand moved to his forehead. Gregory sat back slowly. Brooke's grip on Mom's hand tightened. And Mom looked at the signatures. Then at me. Then, for the first time since she walked into that room, at Brooke. What is this? Someone forged my signature, I said. To steal my share of a house I paid for. I didn't say who. I didn't have to. Every eye in the room had already turned. Brooke let go of Mom's hand. That's insane. I didn't forge anything. Vivian is doing what she always does, she's making herself the victim because she can't handle. One word. Brooke. Flat. Quiet. It cut through her sentence like a blade through paper. Before you finish that thought, I want you to hear something. I reached into the back of the folder. Pulled out the USB drive. Plugged it into Janet's laptop. Found the file. This is a recording of a phone call between you and me, 2 months before the voicemail. My app plays a disclosure tone at the start. If you'd like to dispute its authenticity, Mr. Pratt can have it verified. Brooke's face went white. Not red. White. The kind of white that happens when blood retreats from the surface. I clicked play. Brooke's voice filled the conference room, warm, casual, coaxing. I just need you out of the trust and off the deed. Then everything gets simpler for everyone. The recording ended. No one moved. Mom was staring at the speaker like it had physically struck her. Lips slightly parted. Dad's eyes were closed. Hands still on his forehead. Gregory Pratt had set his pen on the table and folded his hands. And Brooke was looking at Mom, searching for the lifeline that had always been there. Mom didn't look back. 15 seconds of silence. Then Brooke broke. That's out of context. I was just talking. People say things when they're talking. Janet's voice, the recording is timestamped 2 months before a forged document bearing Miss Owens' signature was submitted to remove her from the deed. The context, I'd say, is remarkably clear. Brooke turned to Mom again. Lip trembling. Mom. Mom, you believe me, right? She's twisting everything. She always does this. Donna Owens did not look at her younger daughter. She was staring at the spreadsheet. At the column labeled total. At the number at the bottom that represented 6 years of her eldest daughter's life, converted to dollars and cents, paid without a single thank you. She said nothing. And in that silence, in that precise, devastating silence, something shifted in the room that could never be shifted back. I stood up. Here's what happens now. My voice was even. Professional. The way I deliver a risk report when the numbers are bad and there is no soft way to say it. The trust will be transferred to a professional management firm. I'm stepping down as trustee, but Grandma's terms will be enforced. Education and medical only. No exceptions. I looked at the table. I am withdrawing as co-signer on the mortgage. You have 60 days to find alternative financing or make a decision about the property. I will not make another payment. I looked at Gregory Pratt. Regarding the forged signature, I won't be filing a criminal complaint at this time. But every document, every recording, every communication has been preserved and is held by my attorney. I looked at Brooke. She was staring at the table. Cardigan pulled tight. Brooke. I don't hate you. But I don't trust you. And I don't have to. I picked up my folder. Nodded once to Janet. Walked to the door. Dad's voice, cracked and low, from the far end of the table. Vivian. I paused with my hand on the handle. Didn't turn around. 60 days, Dad. Use them well. The door clicked shut behind me. My heels echoed down the hallway. Steady. Even. Unhurried. I didn't look back, not because I was angry. Because there was nothing behind me I hadn't already said. That moment, her walking out of that room, I need to know what you felt. Drop one word in the comments right now. Just one word for how that scene made you feel. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it right now, because this community is full of people who've been the dependable one, the strong one, the one who held everything together, and we see each other here. Hit subscribe. You belong in this space. 72 hours after the meeting, the pieces fell exactly where gravity said they would. Without me as cosigner, the refinance was permanently dead. The bank sent a formal notice. Donna Owens had 90 days to either resume full mortgage payments alone, secure a new cosigner with qualifying credit, or face foreclosure proceedings. Her credit score couldn't carry the loan. Not even close. The trust transferred to a licensed fiduciary firm in Philadelphia within 1 week. Every dollar accounted for. Every withdrawal subject to third-party review. Brooke couldn't charm, cry, or forge her way to a single cent of it. My insurance cancellation took effect on the 30-day mark. By Thursday of that week, Mom was on the phone with the marketplace, learning for the first time what health insurance costs when someone else isn't quietly paying for it. Nearly double what I had been covering. Gregory Pratt formally withdrew from representing the family 10 days after the meeting. His letter to Donna cited irreconcilable factual discrepancies. Polished legal language for, "Your daughter committed fraud and you didn't tell me." They were now without counsel. And the Facebook narrative Brooke had carefully built, the "when your own blood turns their back on you" post, the prayer hands, the 47 likes, began to crack. Aunt Helen called Mom with pointed questions. A cousin texted me directly, "I heard there were forged documents. Is that true?" I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The facts were doing their own press tour. 3 weeks after the meeting, Dad called on a Sunday afternoon. His voice was thinner than I'd ever heard it. "Vivian, I want to say I'm sorry. I should have asked questions when your mother sent that voicemail. I should have looked at the paperwork myself. I waited. Because with Dad, the apology always came with a second paragraph. But sweetheart, is there any way you could give us more time with the house? Just a few more months, until we figure things out. Dad." He stopped. I heard the apology. I appreciate it. But I also heard the but. You're not calling because you're sorry. You're calling because the family needs my signature again. Silence. Then quietly, "Both, Vivian." It's both. Maybe it is. But the answer is the same. The 60 days stand. Nothing changes. He hung up without saying goodbye. Just a click. The same abrupt silence that had been his answer to every hard question my entire life. The house sold 6 weeks after the meeting. Donna listed it when it became clear no one could co-sign a new loan. I signed the paperwork to release my name from the deed, the real paperwork, this time with my actual signature. I didn't take any proceeds. The equity was hers. I had already calculated the loss, $66,000 toward a house I never truly lived in. I wrote it off. Not on my taxes. In my head. A tuition payment for the most expensive lesson I had ever learned. 3 months later, I was sitting in a coffee shop on a Saturday morning, laptop open but idle, watching people through the window. A normal Saturday. Unremarkable. And that was exactly the point. The mortgage money, $1,850 a month, was going into my savings account. I had an emergency fund for the first time in my adult life. I was paying down my student loans ahead of schedule. I had booked a trip to Portland just because I wanted to see the ocean. I had never booked a trip just because I wanted to before. Mom called once about a month after the meeting. Her voice had no sharp edges left. She asked how I was. I said fine. She said okay. The call lasted 90 seconds. It wasn't healing. It was a ceasefire. For now, that was enough. Dad texted on my birthday. 3 words. "Happy birthday, Vivian." First time in years. No exclamation point. No emoji. Just my name and an acknowledgement that I existed. The smallest possible gesture. But it was his. I'm not telling you this story so you'll hate my family. I'm telling you because somewhere right now, someone is sitting with their phone in their hand, staring at a transfer confirmation for money they couldn't afford to send, to someone who has never once said thank you. And they're telling themselves the same thing I told myself for 6 years. It's fine. They're family. This is what family does. Brooke isn't a monster. She's a person who learned very young that lying gets rewarded and crying unlocks doors. Nobody ever showed her a consequence that stuck, until the consequence wore my name and came with a lawyer. Mom isn't evil. She's a woman who built her identity around control. When I stopped following her script, she didn't know how to respond with anything other than force. That voicemail wasn't cruelty. It was panic disguised as authority. Dad isn't a villain. He's a man who spent his whole life choosing silence over confrontation. And one day realized that silence has a price too. He's still learning that. I think he might get there. And me? I'm the woman who finally understood that the word family is not a blank check. That loving someone does not mean funding their life while they erase yours. That the moment you stop being someone's safety net, you find out whether they were ever truly standing on their own, or just standing on you. I don't know what my family looks like a year from now. I don't know if there will be a holiday I attend or a phone call that finally feels like home. I don't need to know. For the first time, I'm not building my life around their answer. And every morning I wake up in my apartment, with money in my account, with a flight booked just because I wanted to, with a phone that rings when I want it to and is silent when I choose. I feel it. That quiet, unremarkable, beautifully mine kind of freedom. So I'll leave you with this. If the people who were supposed to love you the most told you to leave, would you fight to stay? Or would you finally let them see what life looks like without you? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. If this story stayed with you, if any part of it felt familiar, if you have ever been the strong one, the reliable one, the one who kept the family afloat while being told you weren't enough, I want you to do 3 things right now. Subscribe, so you never miss a story like this one. Share this video with one person who needs to hear it. You know exactly who that is. Drop your story in the comments. Because this community exists for people who are done being silent. You are not alone. You never were. New stories every week. Thank you for staying with me until the very end. You're stronger than they told you. See you in the next one.